Well, a secret surprise impact of Obamacare, perhaps higher pizza prices. The CEO of Papa John's says the added cost of Obamacare will lead to you paying 15 to 20 cents more per pie. So much for that extra pepperoni. Emily Ethridge of CQ Roll Call joins us. Nice to see you, Emily. Tell me, who is the CEO, and was he trying to scare people on this pizza, or is this a genuine issue that's going to have an impact on business?
Well, the CEO was talking to shareholders of Papa John's and trying to give them a preview about what's happening to this company and what's coming up. And he said once this law is in place with the employer mandate that the cost of pizza is going to have to go up. That is going to cost his company so much he has to pass it on to consumers, we the people who buy our pizzas. And it's not just a scare tactic. He really is concerned. And we've heard this from a lot of other restaurants and food companies, not just Papa John's.
All right. Now, this rule about having to provide health care insurance or pay a penalty, it applies to only a certain level of companies, right? A certain number of employees?
That's right. It's companies with 50 full-time employees or the equivalent or more. And that's where a lot of restaurants and food companies end up shaking out, is about 50 people, maybe 45, maybe 60, but they're right on that edge of 50 is when the requirement kicks in.
Now, is he said anything about whether he's going to stop giving health care to people and pay the penalty? Because I imagine it's more expensive to pay health care insurance than it is to pay the $2,000 or whatever the penalty is.
It depends on the kind of coverage that you're providing to your employees, and it also depends on how many employees you have and how many of them actually decide to buy your coverage. But what we're hearing from a lot of restaurants and other companies like Papa John's is if they're just over that 50% cusp or that 50-person cusp, maybe they fire a few people. Maybe if some people leave, they don't replace those positions. Try to keep it under 50 people. Do the shareholders or even the CEO of Papa John's, does he believe people will stop buying pizzas, the demand for his pizzas will go down with the 15 or 20 cents, whatever it was, additional cost? I don't think that he does. You know, everyone is going to be in this boat. So even if his prices have to go up for pizzas, I'm sure Domino's, Pizza Hut, all those places will have to have their prices increased too, because they're all going to be hit with this requirement, is his thinking. So it's just going to be something that gets passed along to the consumer.
So it's not going to cost Papa John's a dime, so to speak. It's not going to infect the shareholders unless, of course, it really did affect the demand on the long end. The people who are going to be paying for this are the consumer.
Yeah, he actually said in the shareholder call today, it was reported that he was saying we're going to try to shallow out the effect of the shareholders as much as possible by passing this along to the consumer. So it really is, he's saying this is such a burden, there's no way around it. We're going to have to make our product more expensive to buy.
Well, it's sort of interesting, though, that if it were only a pizza, I imagine that would not be too difficult for the American people. But I imagine that the Papa John's CEO is not unlike other CEOs who are going to do everything they can to pass the cost on to the consumer, because they want to maximize their profit as well as maximize it for the shareholder.
Right. Businesses have been upset about this mandate for a long time, since this law was just a bill getting debated. The National Restaurant Association says they would like to see this repealed. We had some corporate executives from Subway, Burger King, and Dunkin' Donuts up on Capitol Hill a couple weeks ago before the lawmakers left for their vacation, saying
we've had that discussion. Yeah.
They're saying that they need more flexibility on this. They can't bear this cost without making their products more expensive for consumers.
I imagine also it's not just the fast food or the food that you buy, the prepared food, but it's going to be on the grocery shelf. I mean, if costs are being passed on by the CEO of Papa John's, I imagine the same principle is going to apply to people who like Kraft or whoever puts things on the grocery shelf.
Well, and a lot of these companies, especially very big companies, already offer insurance to their employees. So a lot of the very big companies won't be hit by this requirement because they already do it.
Except that it's probably a lot cheaper to go to the penalty. Is probably cheaper that way, right?
Right, and in some cases the penalty is about $2,000 per employee. Your first 30 employees don't count. So it kind of depends on how many employees you have, what kind of insurance that you're offering. The law says that you must offer affordable health care insurance. It doesn't really dictate what affordable is. So that's another thing where businesses are saying, what exactly are you making us do here? We're confused.
And everybody's gone home, so we can't get that sorted out. Anyway, Emily, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Coming up, President Obama's critics are calling